The post that I saw that really intrigued me I'll read it to you.
All right.
You said, "Black men, my brothers, can we have a conversation about beating down Black women because some little girl hurt your feelings a long time ago? Shit is dead." And it goes a lot farther than that. But I wanted to ask you, like, what made you or what prompted you to write that post?
Well, I guess several things. I guess the first is I'm the oldest of 10 kids. Like I have 5 brothers and 5 sisters.
Wow.
And I've recently moved back to Detroit. I'm from here. I moved here to take care of my grandmother before she died, and then I recently just bought her house.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm back as a permanent owner now in Detroit now, I guess.
Congratulations.
But like being around my brothers and everything again after spending so many years away, I don't know. And people in general, and I've been around and seeing, there's a lot of toxicity here, and like I would have to check myself and my own privilege, and realize like I had studied a lot. I was a sociology major at Eastern. I was
Okay. Okay, so you were in Ipsy?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For 6 years, and then I moved to Seattle, and then I moved to Portland, and then I moved back here. But yeah, but I realized like I had to check myself sometimes in terms of like, yes, I have the language to understand why the culture is the way it is here, and why and the reasons that people are toxic here. And
are you talking about particularly the Detroit area or just?
Oh yeah, no, I would say just maybe not just Detroit. I mean, I've been in other places too, and it seems to be pervasive all over the country, really. Like I've been to Houston and I've seen it. I've been to Kentucky, I've seen it. Yeah, several places. It's just hypermasculinity,
Okay.
and how toxic it is. The older I get, the more gross it gets, and it just makes me it's upsetting to me. To one, knowing that where they're coming from with it, why they're feeling that way, and also me being impatient and wanting people to be where I am now and be enlightened as fast as I can. It's
not. That takes a lot of work. I mean, you studied it.
Mm-hmm. For years.
It's refreshing to hear that from a Black male, because I was talking to my friend Ed just the other day about it, and how in groups excluding other people just amongst you Black men, does conversations go this far as discussing the toxic masculinity and the bashing of Black women and this a lot of anti-Blackness and things like that. Do you have conversations amongst yourselves about it or no?
I don't know, because I wouldn't even classify myself as a stereotypical Black male. Like I'm queer, so like a lot of conversations. Like, but I mean, I'm queer, but I'm straight passing, I guess.
Okay.
So like, and like I have more of a 70-30 masculine appearance and way I carry myself, just naturally who I am. So like I have that privilege.
That allows you to maneuver in spaces where you're like unprotected.
Even I'm queer and I have a whole different community I associate myself with most of the time.
Okay.
When it comes to the straight male, Black male community here, I have 34 first cousins, and the majority of them are male, and most of them live here in Detroit. I have my brothers and cousins. I have countless other straight male friends who are younger than me, who all listen to me when I speak. I think it's more or less the fact that not less that I'm queer, that they can communicate with me.
Okay.
They don't feel I'm just masculine enough so they can have a conversation, not feel threatened. But I'm queer enough that I'm different enough so that they feel like they're learning something new.
Okay. Wow, that's a very unique, perspective that you can add to predominantly toxic. And particularly pertaining to women, since you're queer, how does that change your outlook of what you see the relationship between men and women?
Well, I mean, for me, it doesn't change as much as I'm pansexual, so I've mostly dated women my entire life. Like
Okay.
when, like I think 80% of my partners have been cis women. Um, but I would say it allows me to. I've noticed that a lot of straight cis men, especially black men in our community, tend to their self-esteem isn't where it needs to be. They don't carry themselves the way they need to. So in terms, it allows women who need that from men. I'm not me personally. I've not ran into too many people. I don't have dated too many people like that. Usually, the cis women I date are usually like type A, like get shit done CEO types. Um, but that's not the majority of people. That's not the majority of women. That's not like so a lot of like even in my own family, I've recognized that some people just want to feel safe. They want to be taken care of a
Right.
little bit. They want someone to be their backbone, so that they don't have to be strong. They can just be caring.
Mm-hmm. And
And for
nurturing
a long time,
and feminine. And
yeah, and for a long time for me, that was a hard thing for me to come to terms with because I'm a mover. I'm a traveler. I like people who want to like go. What's our next activity? Not not necessarily always having to be comfortable. Like I'm okay with being uncomfortable, but most people are not okay with that. They want
right.
to like safe, and that's real. And I mean and people deserve to feel safe. So like
On that, go ahead.
also so when it comes to the relationship between men and women, at least straight men and women, cis straight men and women, I think it's a lack of communication and a lack of understanding each other because they need each other, but they're so different from each other,
I
very
saw
different.
on, yeah, because there is a lack of communication, but I think it's kind of lopsided as far as making the effort to come to the table. Like, I think a lot of the disconnect is people just unwilling to come to the table. And
For
from my
ego purposes,
experience, yeah, it's been women just sitting, waiting for people, waiting for the men to show up.
I would agree. I mean, just in my experiences that I've seen, not all of them.
Not
I've
all,
known,
yes, sir.
I know of very few occasions of people who just have very bad luck. They keep, or maybe the people they're attracted to, they just gravitate to the wrong type of people. But I've noticed, like, yeah, you kind of have to be more assertive now. Like you have to be like, and opposite, and like men who are usually more assertive and more aggressive with it, they have to learn how to step back a little bit,
Right.
listen, because usually, like for example, I've always been in leadership. I'm 6'1". I was athletic, very athletic growing up. I speak very well, so whenever I'm in Detroit, wherever I've gone, I've got a lot of opportunities. And because I'm tall, I'm dark skinned, and and I speak very well. People listen to me more when I go into a room. When I go into a room here and it's mostly black people, yeah, my voice is going to be heard first usually.
Mm.
Notice that for the past 15 years I've been doing any kind of work. That's why I've learned to check my privilege in that way, so I can learn more.
Okay.
I've learned. I felt as though like I was missing something. I wanted to get everyone's perspective in the room, even if they didn't feel like talking, because I want to know exactly how do you feel about what's going on, like from
Right.
whatever perspective you're coming from. And a lot of black women don't get heard until it's too late and they snap. And I've noticed that.
Right. And your post talks about protecting and
Hmm.
how we are lacking protection. And then you have the photo that kind of just added a layer onto it. It was a man holding,
Yeah.
a black man holding or hugging a non-black woman, and him saying
Oh,
that. Um,
so gross.
and
Like,
I
you know
was
what hurts me the
wondering
most? Yeah,
what your
that
thought.
hurt me because I have a white girl. I had a white girlfriend in college at Eastern, and to this day, she has been one of the people who rides for me. If I need something, like I really needed something, like it has to get done or I'm fucked. I'm
Mm-hmm.
calling her. She's on that. I'm calling my mom and then I'm calling her.
Okay.
You know, we haven't been together in a long time. We broke up in 2012, I believe. I can still call her to this day. She is like, so like, at first glance when I saw the picture, I was like, oh, see, like, see, like I don't hate, I hate the hate going the other opposite way too, like the interracial dating hate. I used to get a lot of that back in MC, a lot of that. So like, that's what I thought it was at first, someone going that direction. But when I saw him big upping her and then putting down black women, like they don't do that. Like, I'm pretty sure your mother brought you here, sir. Like, you gonna tell me like your mother's not black? I'm looking at your face. Like, I'm sure, and you're alive. You don't like you have a bunch of scars. Like you had a terrible life. I've met
Right.
people who have terrible lives. I know what people you have a certain look in their eyes when you look at them. Like I know people who slept under cars in the middle of the February because they
Right.
didn't have
Right.
nowhere to go when they were 8 years old. This
Wow.
guy clearly wasn't one of those people.
I saw one of the responses to that photo, and a Black woman said, she's going to jump in front of you knowing that the police won't shoot her. A Black woman will jump in front of you knowing that the police will shoot her. Um, and I thought that was even more powerful.
That hit me too.
Yeah. And it's like to see the nuance, because a lot of people put apples and oranges together and try to make it look the same or be the same, and not, looking at the nuances with the difference between two demographics. Um, and when you said that, I don't know if you keep up with hip hop, popular culture, and things like that, because recently there was two rappers discussing Black women and how they prefer non-Black women. And it was another layer of, okay, you can have your preference, you can love who you love, there's no hate in that, but to add on, oh, Black women are this, and it's like, okay, now you just defeated the.
Like, what are you doing?
Did you see
Who
that?
was
What was
this?
your reaction?
No. Who was this?
This was Lil Wayne, I believe, and 50 Cent talking about Black women, how they preferred exotic women. And on top of that, they added, oh, Black women are jealous, angry, and this is why we don't know. And this was on a recent podcast. And
I like to be careful when I talk about celebrities on their level, because it's something my grandmother told me. When my grandmother, she was 81 when she died. She was born in 1937. She grew up in the 40s and 50s in Black Bottom, Detroit. And like the Black community wasn't like, it was a lot closer knit back then. People had to depend on each other a lot closer, and everyone knew each other a little bit better because they kind of had to.
right.
And so like I try to understand everything she told me in lessons through that lens. And like she used to always say she was very upset about Bill Cosby and the fact that he was going to prison, even though he admitted. I told her, I was like, "Grandma, here it is right here. He said he did it," and she's like, "I don't care." Like those women used to throw themselves at our Black men. Like he was like he used like they used to just do all kind of craziness. So when it comes to celebrities, I like to give it a grain of salt, because Lil Wayne and 50 Cent are very rich, very, very rich, and that does attract a certain type of person.
Right. It
And so,
wasn't
like,
the person that they were attracted to that was the problem. It was the
oh no, that's not. So like,
degradation of Black women was the
but
problem.
also Lil Wayne and 50 Cent aren't educated Black men. They aren't, and and this is the problem I have also with our community, putting MCs or any kind of celebrity on a pedestal as role models.
But
They rhyme words really well, and they have
right.
very good swag. That's it. we should not be listening to them on any other fronts.
Right. I
They've spent
agree. But it depends on where you're at. That is a privilege to say we shouldn't do this when the hood is listening to that. Like,
that's all we
we
have though. But
shouldn't
like,
do it.
yeah.
We don't do it, but it's being done. So they have some accountability, regardless if they're educated or
Oh yeah.
rich or
I mean, like,
regardless.
I only say that because I know you're 100% right. They should be checked.
Right.
They should
They
have
can
to be
say
checked.
whatever they want to say, but we have to check them
Oh
to
yeah.
prevent the perpetuation of ignorance,
Oh yeah. No.
especially with the Black community. And then we have the violence and the hurt and the pain and the disrespect that goes along with it. So yeah, we shouldn't listen to it, but it's being said. So we need
Oh
to do
yeah.
something about it.
What I try to do when I examine things or try to understand things, let me make sure I make this clear. I do not approve of anything they said in any way, fashion, or form at all. What I try to do though with things that I don't approve of first, I've learned to do this as I gotten older, is to seek why someone would say that first. What
Right.
was your motivation? How did you come to that conclusion? It's complete nonsense. But you're a human being just like me, and you've said things in the past that I've agreed with. So I have to know exactly how you've got to that position. So that's why I was trying to do there, trying to understand how someone would come to this conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
They have spent the last basically our adult lives. I mean, I don't want to assume your age. You look, you're around my age. Like basically our teenage adult lives, making a lot of money and going around the world, sleeping with whoever they wanted to. Basically, they've lived in a life that most people would never see.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, they just live a different life, and not everyone has LeBron James integrity.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
and then not only do they not have his integrity, they make money on not have his integrity. You listen. I mean, I listen to the lyrics. I mean, I love lyricists, and like even if the content isn't what something I would agree with, especially being queer, I listen for the wordplay. I listen to the metaphors. I listen to all the things I love. I'm a student of English at the end of the day also. I
Yeah.
love, I don't know, it just gets me going. I don't know, it just makes me happy just to see like Lil Wayne, some of the ways he used to put things. And still does. Like, it's just and the way he did it. Like, same thing with 50 Cent, some of the way he said things, the way he swagged, the way he was. Like, and
But
being a
that's a
black
good
man.
point that you're making up.
Yeah.
The way his work, regardless if he, I don't know if he has a degree or not, his work influences you on a level that's farther than superficial, farther than just what you hear. It's how you feel, and eventually how you think, if you know that's how deep or how much you love hip hop. So
True.
with that being said, we shouldn't put them on a pedestal. We shouldn't put them on a pedestal. We shouldn't, but you can't kind of like disassociate, or a lot of people, maybe not on our level of intellect, but a lot of people can't separate that. So even if they listen to their music, they're also going to listen to things outside of their music, and it's going to affect them just as much.
Yeah. I mean, like I used to get mad at that when I was a kid a lot. People who said that video games and music had a
Right.
negative influence on us, because I was like, that's nonsense. Like, and like every time I used to roll my eyes, like I can play Grand Theft Auto and never kill somebody. You know, like
Right.
like I've played the game for hours and never wanted to kill anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not completely true. As I've gotten older and realized, and I've been a teacher before, like, yes, and even recognize myself, like I'm affected by the music I listen to. I have to detox myself some days. Like some days I'll only listen to musicals, or some days I'll only listen to 2000s pop music,
Oh, or
or like
R&B.
yeah, or like any, like just to make sure, like to get rid of any excess negative energy or something that I
Right.
need
It's
to.
like osmosis. It's like, I wanted to change gears. As far as, I guess we can stick to music. I don't know if you heard about Megan Thee Stallion, and she was in an incident where she was gravely hurt. She was shot. And the backlash of it was a lot of just crazy nonsense of, you know, making fun of her. And it was a lot of like, wow, she's, you know, and she actually wrote a post. I don't know if it was before the incident or after an incident about Black women being protected or not being protected. And it actually being like a movement in the recent months online. And the reaction to that was mixed. It was like, oh, you guys are overreacting, blah, blah, blah. And did you hear, or what was your reaction?
I have a lot of emotions about that. I watched the Joe Budden podcast. Like I'm a pretty like active listener to it. So like I don't agree with half the stuff he says on this podcast,
Right.
but I like Joe's perspective and the way he likes to frame things. I feel like he
Joe
tries
Budden?
he tries his best to be objective
Okay.
sometimes, but he also makes jokes. He likes to have a lot of terrible jokes. Terrible jokes.
I saw, okay, this is off topic, but I saw a video of him about the Bill Cosby incident. And basically he's a rape apologist, but that's a whole nother.
Oh, really?
But continue. Just watch it later or something.
I will definitely have to check that out. But like, no, Joe Budden says stuff on a regular basis that like I had to go back into his like really understand, because he makes a lot of jokes on there and he doesn't always make it clear that they're jokes. Like he has his podcast is kind of a long form and there's hours and hours of it, and so he'll bring back a certain way he talks about things in a very sarcastic manner without making it obvious to the public, say a first time listener that wouldn't know.
Or maybe he just really believes his jokes, so he doesn't make it clear.
No, Joe Budden, like he does not care about anything at the end of the day but himself. He loves Joe.
Okay,
Joe is here.
that's good.
He's not going to be like, everyone knows he's not going to be purposely malicious towards anyone, especially if it's going to cost him the bag. Like he is all about that, and he's all about uplifting Black people, which is why most of us listen to him. And he's trying to give game to young artists to make sure they don't go down the same road.
Uplifting Black people or uplifting Black men?
But that's also like he talked about like the Stallion on his podcast the last couple like the last 2 or 3 months he's had, and he shat on her a little bit. Not really shat on her, but like they were shitting on Tory Lanez first, and then they shot on her a little bit, and then they came up and apologized, because that's what they do on their podcast. But reading about everything that happened, from a realistic human standpoint, I understand Tory Lanez from a human standpoint.
Okay.
Like, my sister's 5'3". Like, I understand Tory Lanez from a human standpoint. Like,
what do you mean?
Like why he shot her. Like, I get it. She's very, like, he may be more dominant than him in some way. He's a very small guy. Let's not excuse it. It's a gun. Like, he shot someone. She didn't die, thank God. But I do not condone it, but I understand it. Let me make sure, like, I do not condone it. I understand how his brain would have got to that place. But when it comes, and also, I know Black men don't believe in protecting Black women anymore. And I feel like they haven't in a long time. A lot of Black men, I've always seen, is me against the world. I felt that way most of my life. I felt that, and I know other Black men feel like that. Like, even though a lot of Black women have our back, at the end of the day, I have to get up every day and work hard for everything I have. I have to go out and hustle. No one's going to do it for me. And most of the time, I'm getting opposition. No matter where I'm going to be getting opposition somewhere, whether it's from anybody who thinks I'm not worthy of being there. And when I'm dealing with that all day and dealing with that day in and day out, week in, year out, it doesn't give me a lot of space and empathy to give any space to anyone else's issues.
Okay, what does that have to do with you understanding why a grown man shot an woman?
He should not have shot her. He should not have shot her at all.
But what was the understanding behind it? How do you understand?
He's a tiny man. She's tall. Just if it was opposite, for example,
she's tall is bigger than